Hey guys, Hadrigon here, back with yet another Hunter x Hunter video, and today, the day is finally upon us. It is the Hunter x Hunter Volume 1 review, or how I would like to call it, the Peak X Peak Volume 1 review. Now, Volume 1 of Hunter x Hunter is absolutely exceptional. In another video, I covered how great and how much of a masterpiece Chapter 1 is. So I'm going to skim over that chapter. I'm just going to let you know that it's incredible. The characterization, the pacing, the paneling, it's all magnificent. We learn a lot about Kite, about Gon, and it's a good setup towards the journey that is this first volume. So we start off on the ship, and first things first, it's really quite amazing how quickly paced this is. I just really breezing past this. Togashi and the manga itself is aware that we are not fully invested yet, whilst the first chapter had us hooked and knows that it needs to keep the momentum going. And I loved how events happen from one to the other, and I just love the banter at display. There's a lot of characterization and just character energy. The synergy in particular between Leorio and Kurapika is very engaging, and they really start to feel like a good pair within themselves. And of course, we've got the sailor of the ship who's got a Scottish accent for some reason. He talks like, oi, aye. It's almost like a pirate. Togashi's taking the stereotypical pirates and giving him some good banter. And I absolutely love those moments of interactions. And it's very great to see just the stark contrast between the three main characters. And there is some absolutely amazing paneling, some beautiful displays of art in this second chapter. Another thing I really liked is that Togashi kept the feeling of having impending stakes active. This is a difference that the 1998 OVA, that the Hunter x Hunter 99 and Hunter x Hunter 2011 changed. The storm just arrived. It was a very linear set of events. Whilst on this ship in the manga, we can see the storm up ahead, almost like we're having glances into the future, and we can feel how it's coming closer. So it's a separate motion of plot, which is happening simultaneously in synchronization. And this helps to build a sense of momentum. And that's done exceptionally well. I told you about the fantastic paneling, and I'm just going to pull up here what I thought is the best example of it. It's truly beautiful, just how much you see these panels. The images just leave out the box it is within, showing us just a sense of raw movement and of the grandeur of the scale, which is really captivating. And this one in particular is just absolutely beautiful, as you can see here. We can see just the brisk sharpness and the messiness of this storm, which also reflects their mental states. And I love that Leorio is very much given the emphasis, and he very much is for this first volume. Whilst Gon is the main character, Leorio is the character we actually learn the most about. And I very much like this, because Leorio has a very unique perspective. As for Gon and Kurapika, they've got very set goals, whilst for him, he's got a broader, larger range of things he is going for. He's the most real, he's the most human, and he's really much us, the reader, within this story. So Leorio is used as a piece of exposition for us, and Gon is as well through his cluelessness. It allows us to have very real and authentic exposition. And that's another thing I loved about this sailor, is that he gave that same exposition. We had this magnificent paneling where he remembers, Jing coming on this boat, and he just sees the parallels of Gon. And I thought this was very good. It's a very solid second chapter. Easy 8 out of 10. So we go on to chapter 3. And now what I loved about this is that there was no waiting around. We got straight to it. We got straight to the question test. And we see already the parallels at play, where Kurapika can sense something in Gon, as did the sailor. And this is the start of this trend where all throughout the arcs of Hunter x Hunter, characters see something, envision it within Gon. And in particular in this chapter, this really was put to the test. Whilst everyone else was zoned in to the schematics of this question about answering and getting it right, Gon was actually thinking about it. What would I do in a real life scenario? And this has been shown throughout from chapter 2 to now that Gon has a very strong sense of optimism. He always sees the bright side in things. When Kurapika and Leorio were lecturing him, which unironically brought them together, there's a saying, the common enemy brings forth two different opposing forces. Gon was just saying, well, you did catch me. Like, who cares? The good thing happens. And we see Gon's helping the people that at the end of chapter 1 were, kind of scolding him and trying to tell him, don't come here. This is for real people, the Hunter exam. And yet he's helping them feel better. So we see this very golden heart and kind nature in Gon. And then the old lady reflects that Gon's got in it. This is the true meaning of this test. And then afterwards we see that Leorio has this very sporadic emotions. We see that through him, he has the most empathy out of the group. And this is very interesting because in a way this reflects their characters. Kurapika is very much focused on the actual situations at hand, very critical thinking in the moment, do whatever is necessary. Leorio is full heart, just, I want everyone to be okay. And Gon, whilst he has a good heart, he is detached, emotionally so, which is going to come up further and further as the story continues, which of course culminates in the grand moment during the Chimera Ant arc. And this concludes chapter 3. Another brilliant chapter. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Very good, solid setup. Lots of things which are going to be seen in the future. So it was a good, foundational base, which Togashi really helped see this difference in these characters throughout this interesting, unique spin on a test. So now, heading into chapter 4, the place that the sailor had told him to go, the place that unlocked throughout this difficult quiz, has finally reached them, and something unexpected happens. They arrive and things suddenly kick off. This is Togashi's exceptional use of the hook. He knows exactly what the reader is feeling and thinking at the time, and he's able to hook us in right in time. Here we've got this moment where we could have doled down a bit, where there's not much that's been happening ever since Leorio tried to attack the old lady, which is pretty crazy. But here, immediately we get some crazy action with some amazing panels, some good artwork, a good sense of motion, a good sense of stakes, and then we get this absolutely stunning panel where we see the claws and the intimacy of the attack, and then we get a complete change in art style, scope, and perspective. And this is an explosive start to chapter 4, which really just grabs us and doesn't let us go. And this whole chapter, everything was super fast paced. Everything felt very exhilarating. It was in particular a showcase for Gon freaks to see just how special he is. Through Kurapika, who's recently learned about him and has warmed up to him, Kurapika's thinking, that is crazy. How can he hear? How can he keep up? How can he see them? And of course, the shapeshifters are thinking, wow, this kid is fast. And then we've got, of course, Leorio, who's been put as the medic, and we've got Kurapika, who's there saving in a backup of Gon. So we've already got a bit of a team structure which is starting to develop. Something which we didn't quite have before, but it's starting to get established that Leorio is more of a backup secondary character. Gon is the front-facing onwards, and then Kurapika is somewhere in between the two. And what we have here is that Leorio appears. He's saying, I've saved the man that was injured, and now here, well, what's up, Kurapika? What can I help you with? And Kurapika just hits him. And this truly takes you off guard. Of course, in the animes, they added more scene to this, where we got the hint and suspicion ourselves that Leorio wasn't Leorio. The more you see him, of course, in this invitation, the more obvious it gets. I found that the very little dialogue that Leorio had was very effective, because as Kurapika didn't know that it wasn't Leorio, neither did we. And then we had that immediate plot twist, which felt very sudden and very genuine. So we move on to Gon, who's actually managed to hit one of the shapeshifters, and it got away, and as it's come back, he's realized, hold on a second, this isn't the one I hit. We've got, again, some amazing artwork. Here, You see, through the paneling and the way that Togashi uses perspectives, one scene where in reality it's two characters who are just standing completely still, but he's managed to give it a sense of motion through having different art styles. We see that he's really starting to play with this contrast of colors between different shades of black and white. And whilst manga is limited in this format of black and white, Togashi is making the absolute most of it. And I love here just the grimace, right? The sense of awe and the sense of just hopelessness. Gon should be scared, but he isn't. He stays completely still. And then we've got the reveal that, of course, Kurapika had figured out that, these people aren't who they say they are. Leorio had done his job and actually, helped out the man he was supposed to. And Gon had impressed him by doing something that a human hadn't done in many, many years. And we get a panel which is very, very beautiful. In a series, sometimes you just need some extrospective scenery panels, something that really makes you appreciate a series. And whilst everything at this point would be very intense, afterward, that really psychological moment during the question test, and then beforehand, this really strong introduction and fiery clash of personalities on the ship, and of course, the grand introduction with Gon, his backstory and everything. This was a moment which was very much needed and really did a lot for this particular chapter and the first part of the story. I'm guessing at this point is when people really started to feel like, wow, Hunter x Hunter really is incredible. We see the back shot of them just getting flown out across the moon towards the next Hunter exam phase, the final one where they'll finally be able to start the real exam. And it's really exhilarating. I'd say this chapter, 8 out of 10, absolutely incredible. It really does feel like things are starting to really get set in motion. A new reader at this point will start to understand what Hunter x Hunter is. And that's something that's very important. But there is one problem thus far. We don't have any villains or an opposing force towards our main cast. And that is one that chapter 5, does chapter 5 understand that problem and say, okay, let me get right to it. So we start off, unfortunately, with these English volumes. There is no color spreads. In the Japanese versions there are, and this is absolutely stunning. Also, there's some problems with translation, so in my ideal dream, I'd want to re-release of these with the colored, of course, with the better translations and a bigger casket with like hardback, something like the Full Metal edition for Full Metal Alchemist. But getting back on points, chapter 5 is thus far the best chapter since chapter 1. It is absolutely incredible. We get this fast pacing of Leorio, Gon, and Kurapika really starting to gel together. It feels like at this point they've really started to appreciate each other and be a single squadron, a team. And it's felt natural. We've seen their progression throughout. In this very little time, they've gone through a lot of different obstacles together, and that has drawn them closer as they've learned more about each other. So they go into this restaurant, this tiny restaurant, and through this code word they're in, the Hunter exam has begun. Gon has no idea what hunters are able to do, and here we see the clash between Kurapika and Leorio, which is quite iconic in the series, continue as Leorio was talking about, oh, well, you can buy this when you're a hunter, and Kurapika's like, it's a very noble job, it's very fun, and Gon doesn't quite know what he wants to do. He doesn't know quite what a hunter is. He just knows his dad's a hunter, I should be a hunter. And I had this conversation in my comments section, and it was one where Gon doesn't know what kind of hunter he is or what he wants to be. Gon doesn't have a good sense of identity. And it was something that I've talked in my comments section a lot with quite a few people. And it really is just a sense of, I don't think we're going to get Gon back in the story until, he's able to figure out who exactly he is. And this is very much explored here, as Gon's about to give an answer, which we see throughout his facial expressions. He's not too confident in the answer he's about to give, and he gets cut off. And we get this absolutely splendid spread, a double spread. And whenever Togashi does this, it's very important. And here we've got the official introduction of one of the greatest characters, Hisoka Moro. We see a spread of everyone looking very intense. Shows us just the scale of the Hunter exam, because it's been really heavily emphasized at this point that it's only 1 in 10,000 people that are able to get this far. So everyone here feels like the echelon of echelons, the best of the best. And it really does feel like quite momentous moments. And here, there's a lot of happening in this chapter. We get the introduction of Tonpa. Then, of course, we get all the badges getting introduced. We start to learn more about all the applicants. We've got these fantastic, fast-paced panels, not wasting any time, just giving us all the information we need. And then Togashi does what was needed. He gives us a real sense of anxiety and an opposing force. The introduction of Hisoka, as he takes out and amputates 2 of a man's arms, and he is screaming in agony as he bleeds out to death. Now, this is very dark, especially for a shonen manga. And this really sets the tone of what Hunter x Hunter is. It's not your average shonen battle manga. It's even not Yu Yu Hakusho. It's not that same caliber and genre. It is its own thing, and within its own means and its own timeline, it can get dark and darker than the rest of the entire shonen demographic. On Twitter right now, for instance, lots of people are calling Hunter x Hunter soft seinen, as it's really stretching the bounds of what a shonen can be. And this is just a start, a sneak peek into the microscope of what later Hunter x Hunter and this current arc will actually become. And I love it. What a strong introduction to Hisoka. And it really is quite the shock, as we've not seen anything at this moment. We get the introduction of Hanzo, of Killua, and it's just really a good moment. So overall, I'd give this chapter a 9 out of 10. It was absolutely fantastic. And then we get on to chapter 6. Now in chapter 6, we've got the real start of the chemistry between Gon and Killua. We've got the start of the first phase of It Happens. And here we see that Gon and Killua are different from the anime variants. They are 11 years old, not 12. So there's just a lot of changes which, to me, don't really make sense. And the way that it's paced is much better. There's quite a few things I liked. In particular, throughout the end of this chapter, we've got the moment where Leorio really gets tired and he starts to question and doubt himself. And this is where we see his absolute reserve. He stops for a moment only to start again and go much faster. And in the anime variants, it really made it seem like Leorio was about to give up. And he had Gon and Killua stopping for him. But no, this is not actually accurate to the actual material. In the actual material, Leorio himself pushed himself with the most motivation past his limits. The moment the doubt crept into his mind, he had a reply which was much stronger, which pushed him towards a success. And so much of this chapter is mainly just exposition, showing us how this works. It's, of course, Killua with his skateboard and Gon talking about his father. So it very much flies by, and overall I'd say an easy 8 out of 10. The Hunter exam is very much an incredible arc, and this beginning portion of it is really quite fantastic. So we move on to chapter 7. Now a lot of things happen in chapter 7. In particular, it starts off with the first dropout of Nicholas. And just look how incredible this is. We're seeing just the adaptability and the skill sets of Togashi, a mangaka, an artist of the absolute highest caliber. We can see here the sense of emotion that we can tell. It's almost One Piece-esque, over-exaggerated, but it's realistic. It's within the marginal reasons of the context of how this happens, and it's incredible. This really is the chapter of the test of wills. We have Gon, who's telling Killua about kites. And I absolutely love this detail because earlier on in my last chapter 1 review, I talked about how interesting it was that the first time skip in Hunter x Hunter actually happens between the flashback interaction with Gon and Kite. And here we see a snippet of what happened during that flashback that got skimmed over, as we saw them at the start of the day and then again at the end of the day. And here it's Kite talking to Gon about all the things Jing has done. And we see the absolute joy and the absolute ecstasy in the eyes of Gon Freaks. And we got these very, charming moments with Killua. We're just thinking, man, you're so weird. To him, this concept is so bizarre. Someone that's escaping their family, to have someone that's so actively trying to go towards theirs. And I love this moment. We had this sneak peek where Killua was, hinting at the fact that he's not quite how he seems. He did have this dark moment where Tompa offered him the drink and he just said, "Poisons don't work on me." And it almost felt very edgy, but in a very cool, in a manner which worked. Side by side behind Hanzo, who was talking a lot, and Tompa was thinking, man, this guy likes to just blab on and on. He's like, hey, I'm a ninja. And I absolutely love it because the characterizations is just so different to what we expect. Killua, this young boy, who's, kind of got this curly hair. We'd expect him to, be kind of chill, maybe someone that's popular with the girls, sort of a Sasuke Uchiha type of character arc. But it's not at all like that. And Hanzo, you'd sort of expect serious, bold, tough, ninja-looking guy. You'd think, oh man, this guy's gonna be tough and serious, but no, he's quite unserious and funny. And we see his motivation about trying to find these scrolls. And it's brilliant because so much characterization happens in such a short period of time. And then we've got the big moments with Kurapika and Leorio, as Kurapika talks about his vengeance towards the Phantom Troop. They stole the Scarlet Eyes, killed his people, and he'll do anything to get them back. In chapter 2, there was a moment where Kurapika says, "I do not fear dying. I fear only that my rage will fade over time." And that was just completely emphasized on. And then later on, this is the expansion of that. And the more and more we see Kurapika, the more and more that sentiment gets expanded on. And I like that this is a plot thread that Togashi wove in from the moment we saw him, and is still woven into the story now. So it feels like a very long-term character arc and progression that feels very fulfilling and satisfying. And as a response to that initial statement by Kurapika in chapter 2, we had Gon saying, if you want to learn about someone, find out what makes them angry. And this is something that's also expanded on within Gon, as we see that he is not willing to let his friends or the people that he's had a prolonged interaction with be in a negative headspace. But so I want to show this scene, as here is a very great use of composition by Togashi, and of contrast, of course. Of course, you get the black and the white. And you get these stairs where these applicants are falling, but it almost symbolizes hell and heaven, the stairway to heaven, and the Kurta clan members which have been killed on the way there, as the exposition in the background of Kurapika talking. And we get the reveal from Leorio that his friend died from a curable disease, which is absolutely brutal. And we saw Kurapika have a bit of a reality check, as to him, really, he had this limited assumption of what money could be used for and how it could be. So this was an incredible chapter. I'd say another 9 out of 10 chapters. Really, the first phase of the Hunter exam has really been done so well. And so we go on to the final chapter of Volume 1. Now, this chapter was really incredible. I am saying that a lot, but it's true. Hunter x Hunter is just that great. It is the greatest shonen anime / manga there is. It is the pinnacle. And Togashi has something that will live on for decades and decades. I'm so thankful and grateful to be covering this series. So here, of course, you've got the brutality of Hunter x Hunter, which gets expanded upon as one of the creatures of the wetlands comes and tries to fool the pool of applicants, saying, "Hey, that's not the real examiner. I'm the real examiner." And Hisoka just makes quick work. He just fires his cards at both this imposter and the real examiner. And we see a bit just how gruesome this series will become. And what I love about it is that just how ruthless it is. Another one of this creature's companions tries to run away, and Hisoka literally kills it as it's trying to run off. And it shows us just how merciless and cold-blooded he is. It makes us scared of him, and it really sets him up to be this grand antagonist. And in the wetlands, everyone is dying left, right, and center. And we see Kurapika really starting to, be there with Leorio. And it's very much the start of this bromance, as they've really been a squad for a bit now. And they've really opened up to each other on this staircase running upwards. You can see that bond is really starting to grow and to flourish. And meanwhile, Killua is starting to feel more comfortable around Gon, saying that, hey, we gotta watch out for Hisoka. He's a killer. So am I. And I love his facial expressions. He's saying it trying to get a reaction out of Gon. Just from the way that his face changes, the way he's deliberately putting emphasis on it. He's trying to test Gon, and Gon's just not falling for it. He's someone that's very open-minded, and someone that doesn't have enough of an identity within himself to take a strong stance in any direction. We saw that within the quiz where Gon didn't really get angry at this lady like Leorio did, neither did he really try to think too critically like Kurapika did. He was very much just processing it and seeing the bigger picture as a whole. And I love that Togashi is so consistent with his characterization. And as everyone gets taken out, Hisoka is on the attack, and he just wipes out everyone with such ease so quickly. Kurapika deflects one of them, Leorio gets injured, and he screams. And we see that sudden rush of adrenaline, this immediate need to help from Gon. And I love the way that this ends, because it ends at a brilliant cliffhanger, one which really has you thinking, what's going to happen? We've just had this absolute murderer. He's wiped out everyone. The one that Tonpa has been glazing and hyping up. Now he's attacking the cast we've just become attached to, and Gon's on his way there. You're thinking, could Gon, perhaps Killua, Leorio, and Kurapika, could there be enough to hold him off, or are they just lambs to the slaughter? There's a lot of questions, and Hisoka says he's playing examiner. So there's a question, is he an examiner undercover? Is he just playing examiner? There's a lot of things that Togashi leaves us with. He's got this hook, he's got this thing where he's dragging you towards buying the next volume, and I definitely did. And I'm sure a lot of people did, due to just how well and how successful Hunter x Hunter has been as a franchise. So this 8th chapter, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Very, very good stuff. Overall, this first volume has been quite exhilarating in a way that really, through the pacing, which has been quite quick, but also the introspective moments and the intimate feeling of it, having those moments of just awe as we had the entrance towards the Hunter exam, as we had the wetlands, and of course, over the moon as they were getting flown towards the exam. There was moments where we could really just think back and reflect. We had the emotions between the flashback with Gon and Kite. We had the farewell of Aunt Mito. We had the incredible character moments between Kurapika and Leorio, and between Gon and Killua. There's just so much heart, so much soul, so much great writing, so much foreshadowing towards the future, so many plot threads which are being actively built, and a lot of moral questions and dilemmas for us, the audience and reader. Lots of great paneling, lots of experimental just art styles on display. And overall, it just shows the greatness of Yoshihiro Togashi. This was an absolute masterpiece. So that is my thoughts on it. Volume 1 of Hunter x Hunter. Overall, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. It is just so incredible. But yes, guys, this was it for the video. I hope you've all enjoyed. Hope you've all had an absolutely incredible day, and I wish you the best. If you love Hunter x Hunter, I recommend subscribing to the channel, as I do Hunter x Hunter videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, ranging from all kinds of different topics. I probably got the biggest archive of Hunter x Hunter videos on YouTube, so I'm sure there's something for everyone. If you want to make sure that you keep, getting consistent content, I recommend putting on the notifications. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like. And if you want to chat at me in the comments about anything, or leave a video suggestion, it's always there. And yeah, this is Hadrigon. Peace out.